Hey, what up guys? Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll be talking about President George Washington, guys, because we're attending the George Washington University, named in his honor. And this is going to be a short, like a history biography about President George Washington, his life, who he was, and hope you guys enjoy, and let's get to it. George Washington was born into a mildly prosperous Virginia farming family in 1732. Although he never received more than an elementary school education, young George displayed a gift into mathematics. While working for Lord Fairfax at the age of 16, young Washington was able to travel deep into the American wilderness for weeks at a time. Later in his life, with the tragedy of his brother's death, he inherited the Mount Vernon estate from his brother. At the time, England and France were enemies in America, trying for control of the Ohio River Valley. Serving as a British military envoy, Washington led a poorly trained and equipped force of 150 men to build a fort on the banks of Ohio River Valley. Although hailed as a hero in the colonies when the word spread of his heroic valor and leadership against the French, the royal government in England blamed the colonials for the defeat. How did the colonials react to this?
I am going to kick your ass.
Angry at the lack of respect and appreciation shown to him, Washington resigned and returned to farming in Virginia. By 1770, Washington had emerged as an experienced leader. He also was among the first prominent Americans to openly support resistance to England's new policies of taxation and strict regulation of the colonial economy, the Navigation Acts, beginning in the early 1770s. Washington was elected by the Virginia legislature to both the First and Second Continental Congress in 1774 and 1775. In 1775, after local militia units from Massachusetts had engaged with the British troops near Lexington and Concord, the Second Continental Congress appointed Washington commander of all colonial forces. After routing the British from Boston in the spring of 1776, Washington fought a series of humiliating battles in a losing effort to defend New York. But on Christmas Day that same year, he led his army through a ferocious blizzard, crossed the Delaware River into New Jersey, and defeated the Hessian forces at Trenton. In May 1778, the French agreed to an alliance with the Americans, marking the turning point of the Revolution. In October 1781, Washington's troops, assisted with the French Navy, defeated General Cornwallis at Yorktown. By the following spring, the British government was ready to end hostilities. After defeating General Cornwallis at Yorktown, Virginia, 2 years later in 1783, the Treaty of Paris marked an official end to the war, and this is how George Washington and the United States responded to King George III.
Our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
That's why when she goes low, I go, bye, bitch.
When he goes low, I go bye biatch. Right, moving right past that. Following the war, Washington quelled a potentially disastrous bid by some of his officers to declare him king. He then returned to Mount Vernon and the genteel life of a tobacco planter, only to be called out of retirement to preside at the Constitutional Convention in 1787. His great stature gave credibility to the call for a new government and ensured his election as the first president of the United States. Throughout his 2 terms, Washington insisted on his power to act independent of Congress in foreign conflicts, especially when war broke out between France and England in 1793, and he issued a declaration of neutrality on his own authority. He also acted decisively in putting down a rebellion by farmers in western Pennsylvania who protested a federal whiskey tax, the Whiskey Rebellion of 1794. After he left office, exhausted and discouraged over the rise of political factions, Washington returned to Mount Vernon, where he died almost 3 years later in 1799. Historians agree that no other than George Washington could have held the disparate colonies and later the struggling young republic together. To the Revolution's last day, Washington's troops were ragged, starving, and their pay was months in arrears. In guiding this force during year after year of humiliating defeat to final victory, more than once paying his men out of his own pocket to keep them from going home, Washington earned the unlimited confidence of those early citizens of the United States. Washington's profound achievements built the foundations of a powerful national government that has survived for more than 2 centuries. So guys, I hope you liked this video, the brief history and biography about President George Washington, of who he was. Hope you guys like it. Subscribe and comment down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.